Welcome to the Side Hustle to Small Business podcast powered by Hiscox. I'm your host, Sanjay Parekh. Throughout my career, I've had side hustles, some of which have turned into real businesses. But first and foremost, I'm a serial technology entrepreneur. In the creator space, we hear plenty of advice on how to hustle harder and why you can sleep when you're dead. On this show, we ask new questions in hopes of getting new answers. Questions like, how can small businesses work smarter? How do you achieve balance between work and family? How can we redefine success in our businesses so that we don't burn out after year 3? Every week, I sit down with business founders at various stages of their side hustle to small business journey. These entrepreneurs are pushing the envelope while keeping their values. Keep listening for conversation, context, and camaraderie. Today's guest is Jo Skillman, a creative director based in Houston, Texas. Jo, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So I'm glad to have you. I think this is going to be a really fun and interesting conversation. But before we start jumping into all of that, give us a little bit about your background and what got you to where you are today.
Oh, yeah, totally. So unlike a lot of people that I know, my degree is actually the exact thing that I'm doing right now. So I have a BFA in communication design. I started life as a graphic designer, moved up, became an art director. I have always loved writing and writing copy, became a creative director. And I got my chops at ad agencies, creative agencies, brand strategy agencies. I worked a little bit in-house for a tech startup. And eventually, after being told like 18 times by the people around me, I started doing my own thing. So now I have Jo Skillman LLC because, you know, when you're a working creative, you just name your company after yourself, I suppose.
That's, I like that. The creativeness kind of fell apart there, but I like how the fact is that you knew from the very beginning what you wanted to do and you stuck with it all the way through. There's very few of us, myself included, that actually make it through all of that. So, kudos to you on that.
Thanks.
Is this the first time you've done something entrepreneurial, or is there anybody in the family that was entrepreneurial that, you know, as you were growing up?
Oh, yeah. I mean, when I was in third grade, I think I was selling hand-lettered posters. So when I said I started life as a graphic designer, I was not actually being that facetious. But also my dad is an inventor. So he started out in jewelry and metalsmithing, and that somehow transitioned to oil and gas, pumps, valves, that kind of thing. And so he had been doing that since before I was born. So I grew up kind of with my dad either traveling or, you know, like right in our front yard, messing with things and making blueprints and all that jazz. So I knew from a very young age, I did not want to be an entrepreneur in charge of my own business. Yeah, here we are.
Funny how that all works out, right?
I know.
So I got to ask, like, how much jewelry do you have if your dad was a jewelry maker for a while?
Oh gosh, you know what? I only have like little, he did that in like his younger years. So I have inherited some pieces, like an aunt gave me like a necklace he'd made. My sister has a belt buckle. But it's like throwback stuff. I don't have anything current or like created with me in mind whatsoever.
Well, I would imagine a big belt buckle, it fits right in Texas. So, you know, you pull that out and wear it all the time, right?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, my sister got it, so I will have to get it from her first.
Man, there you go. Okay, so what caused you to kind of go all in then? So you were a creative director working your way up. What caused the kind of urge and itch to launch your own thing, even though you just named it for yourself and nothing else?
You know, I was very difficult to convince. I think in college, I had some inklings that it might be fun to, you know, go out on my own and be able to work remotely and travel and, you know, the ways that we often romanticize entrepreneurship. But after my first job and all of my other ones, all of which had been founder-led. So I had kind of an up close and personal front seat to these people kind of going, oh my gosh, I have to figure out insurance and you know, and I have to figure out my own brand and I have to, you know, go have 18 meetings on a Sunday. All these things. I was kind of watching this and I was like, okay, maybe I don't. And then I got laid off like 3 times in 4 years. It was just some silly things. We had companies merge and someone shuttered the company. And I just kind of found myself having to do business development anyway, just to find my next role or to find freelance work in the interim, which I had always done. So I had always this was truly, like a side hustle come to life because I had always side hustled. And eventually I just thought, you know what? I seem to be able to actually get work when I look for it. And I really enjoy working with my clients. And, because before I would talk to clients maybe once and then kind of go be in the background and be making things on my computer. And so, I was actually client facing and I liked it, and it wasn't too bad. And I got to set my own rates and I got to set my own hours. And I was like, this actually seems feasible. I think I can, in fact, actually do this and it would be okay. And so it was not like a snap decision or like a boost of optimism. It was literally just, I think I'm doing this already and I need to just call it what it is.
And the great thing is you live with the person that could lay you off. And so unlikely they'll lay you off, which is yourself. Yep. So,
yes.
There you go. So
I'm trying.
So, okay. So going through that process, was there anything that made you nervous about doing this? You said
yeah, absolutely.
Sounded like it took a while to get there, right? What was the thing?
For sure. It was 90% fear of business development. I had tried networking events historically, and when you're a graphic designer, what that seems to consist of is people coming up, realizing they don't need you, and just turning around and walking the other way, or someone going, oh my God, I need a graphic designer. If I get you pizza, will you build my logo? And you're like, no, do you know how expensive logos are? And so I was just kind of networking. My God, this is not serving me well. I should never be in business development. And then instead, my fiance kind of helped me realize, he was like, you get business like no one I've ever seen. Stuff falls into your lap. You love going to lunches with people. You voluntarily go to events. Do you know how few people do that? You're stellar at this. I think you just need to, be in better places or go to events that are more aligned with what you actually do. And I thought, he is right. I have always been able to easily reach out to folks and go, hey, do you have any work for me? And they're like, yeah, I would love to work with you. And they throw me work. And it turns out that it was not that scary and it was okay. And I could write off all of my brunches.
Was he disappointed that he wasn't going to just get free pizza all the time because you went down that path instead of the pizza for logos path?
I mean, I think he prefers that I can just buy him pizza anytime that he wants and not just when I've designed a logo.
I like that. Okay. One other thing, you kind of mentioned this and touched upon this. You talked about the romanticized version of, being a business owner and remote work and whatever. How much of that has actually come true for you? Have you ever done remote work, or is that not a thing? Which pieces did you think existed but don't actually exist for you as a side hustler, small business owner?
Oh gosh, I think because I was so opposed to being a small business owner, I've only had mostly pleasant surprises. I mean, I grew up, with my dad who would work crazy hours and was, would panic when the UPS truck missed a pickup or something. And so my anticipation was just all of the negative things. And so becoming my own boss and actually experiencing the positive things that entrepreneurship is in fact known for, were all just very pleasant and unexpected side effects for me. But I have gotten to work remotely. And in fact, I drove into town this morning from out of town because I took a long weekend and didn't have to be anywhere. And I think that's one of my favorites. I definitely have found the idea of working super remotely, traveling the world and being in other countries is not a thing that I can do while working, because I'm just mad that I'm not like full-time outside experiencing everything.
Right.
I'm just like, I'm paying for this expensive hotel to like work for like 7 or 8 hours, and I'm only getting the evenings. And so I've accepted that I have to vacation like everyone else in small chunks with a, vacation email responder on, and that's fine. But getting to like road trip around locally and, spend a little more time at a friend's house or with my family, has been really fun.
It's an interesting insight, because we do always talk about how, you can go anywhere in the world and work. And maybe that's just not the right thing for every entrepreneur. Even though in theory, that's the thing that we're all shown, that this is what is possible. Okay, so let's talk about why you decided to go into the creative aspects of all of this stuff, even though it sounds like it started out in third grade, but like what drew you to the creative industry?
I wanted to be an artist from my mom kept little cute child books where you ask your kid questions every birthday and then you fill them in. And I said, artist, 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 artist. Up until I think fourth grade, I learned that there was such a thing as a designer. And then I switched and I just said designer, 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 designer for up until, she stopped keeping the books. And I love design specifically because, just the pragmatist in me likes the problem solving. So I think if you're an artist, you're like putting so much of yourself out into the world and into the work. And I preferred having a specific challenge given to me by someone that I could then figure out how to solve. And so with creative work, a lot of people kind of misunderstand it as like, designers, they make things pretty, which is not the case at all. We are very much a person that is in the room for business challenges and communication challenges, and behavioral psychology is very tied into what we do because you are in fact trying to change people's behavior. And I love that. And I did not foresee this, when I was getting my degree in kind of early career, but where I've ended up is actually in the cause-based space. So that means that I work a lot with nonprofits, civic organizations. So for instance, earlier you mentioned the White House. I've worked with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. I've worked with the SF Fed. I've worked with the city of Houston. I've worked with the county. I've worked with downtown Houston. Just these really large organizations who are trying to make change for people. And so you need to know how to communicate with people and how people behave and what people respond to. And so, my degree was more focused on design, but I have also always written, and now I get to do both. And it's very often in the space of trying to, I'm not like selling someone potato chips or trying to make, a carton of eggs look good on the shelf. I'm trying to figure out how to change someone's mind about something that they have maybe never thought of in their lives because it has just not impacted them, and trying to get them to consider that, maybe consider it differently than they're inclined to, is just really, really interesting to me. So I think I'm going to stick with it for a bit.
Yeah. So how do you kind of think about that and deal with that in terms of these different market segments that you work in, right? And how do you think about taking these clients on and how you make sense? Because, you could be really, really good at something like healthcare, let's say, but those ideas and thoughts are not going to translate into, civic engagement necessarily, unless it's healthcare related, right? So it sounds like you kind of go across the whole spectrum. And so how do you think about that for yourself in terms of what interests you and how you get good at delivering something for those clients that are very, very different from one another?
Ooh, that is a very thoughtful question. Well, first, I would actually disagree with it. I think that if you can do kind of social justice or civic, you can do healthcare, because all of this starts in research and in talking to people who are involved and talking to people who aren't involved, but maybe could be, and trying to figure out what might make them more inclined to be. And so research is at the heart of everything. And then knowing your audience is at the heart of everything. And that's different for every client, even if they happen to be in the same field. So whether you're talking to, B2B about how your web hosting should be over here, which, tech is also an industry that I've worked in, tech, healthcare, social justice, there are quite a few of these. But if you're talking to someone about, why they should learn the symptoms of a stroke, or you're talking to, middle school kids about why they should care about civic engagement. Like, both of these start with knowing your audience and gaining empathy for them. What are they interested in? What are they challenged by? What are they struggling with? What is their life like? And then figuring out kind of how to convey this information after you've done that part. I think that's true across any audience and any sector. And yes, I might have more experience in one than the other, but I can flip like that as long as I get access to who the audience is and what they care about.
So then let's flip that question on its head a little bit, because sometimes the challenge, and a lot of times the challenge for entrepreneurs and sole business owners like you, is that clients will then look at your portfolio and pigeonhole you in, oh, she just does healthcare. Oh, she just does, whatever, right? And you're trying to go across the spectrum. So how do you deal with that? How do you position yourself to be like, look, I just deal with people and convincing them to do the things that you want them to do, and kind of tell the story well, because they're going to look at you and be like, oh, you're just an X.
Yeah, absolutely. So I definitely have had that happen. I've had folks look at my website and go, wow, she's got a lot of social justice stuff, which, as I said earlier, this was not my area that I trained for and searched for. This happened to me. And then I found the challenge really interesting. And so I've kept it up. It's definitely, an area of creative that I love. But I have just been extremely intentional about going out and talking to clients that are very, very different. So for instance, I actually had a new business call yesterday. And I specifically spoke to this person like, hey, yeah, I've actually been trying to expand my work. I'm, a little bit heavy on kind of the nonprofit and civic side. And I've been looking for more for more corporate. But my corporate experiences are actually pretty complex. And let me tell you about this global risk management company that I just wrote a lot of content for in the realm of AI. And so, eventually I'll have a little bit more of that, and I can put more of that on my website, and I can balance it out a little bit, which is something that I'm still doing. But I have to be extremely proactive when I reach out to folks about, it's very easy, I think, in my field to kind of name drop some of the big nonprofit and civic entities. And instead, I have to balance that by talking about recent projects that I've done. So something that I think that I'm pretty good at this point, probably because I'm a copywriter, is writing cold emails. And so I'll just think about what is the most likely thing to get this person to respond back. Right. And if it's, dropping B2B global risk management, experience and terminology, or it's talking about tech and AI, then I will lead with those things. And then I do keep because I'm slow to get stuff up on my website, as many of us are, but I do keep kind of a running PDF that talks about some of my more corporate work, even if it's stuff that maybe I'm not allowed to put on the website, or I have to obscure names because sometimes that's in my contracts. Then I can just, send that over and go, hey, don't be fooled. This is something else that I work a lot in.
Yeah. How do you think about, because you kind of mentioned it, doing copywriting, how do you think about your writing kind of influencing the visual branding work that you do? Are they interrelated or kind of two separate islands?
Oh, absolutely. They're interrelated. And in fact, you've stumbled upon one of my selling points of me as a business is so very often, you are having to pay two different people. You have to pay a copywriter and then you pay a designer. And sometimes there are disconnects that happen between those two folks where, the designer isn't necessarily treating the copy with the correct hierarchy, or the copywriter will give you tons of copy and you don't actually have the room to design anything, because it all has to fit on a single page. Whereas I do not have that problem because I have both of these things in my head as I'm writing them.
Right. Yeah. Is there something that you see at the front end or during the process that you're like, okay, this is going to be a successful campaign? And is there something that just kind of clicks when you realize oh, this is going to be awesome?
Yes. And it's not like that with every client. So I often build in multiples. So unless a client is really limited by budget or, scope in some way, I will often build a couple of different directions and let them choose. And I think that's nice. And that usually works pretty well because often people just like to feel involved. And if their involvement gets to be, I chose between two good things that, Joe was happy about, then that's wonderful. But occasionally I do have some where I just feel like I have nailed it perfectly and I'm so excited. And I think the common denominator in those is usually that it's something really, really unexpected. It's like something that has not been done before or is going to be really sticky in people's minds just because it's so new that I think it's going to be really memorable, or it's something that's really rebellious in the industry. So you and I were talking earlier about folks who, say a bank, a financial institution comes to you and they say, we want something really creative. And they do not, in fact, want something really creative. They want to look like every other bank that they have seen because that is what banks feel like. That I think if you can convince that bank to do something that is very unbank-like, that is when they become the most memorable to people, and you kind of open up this totally new door for them with regard to, what their ongoing content can be on their socials or in their emails. All of their ad campaigns can be completely unique and different now. And you're just really helping them stand out. And so I think when you've got a client that you're like, I know that this is going to resonate with them and I have worded it perfectly and it looks the right way, is when I'm the most confident that they actually wanted something creative. And I've brought it to them.
Yeah. Let's talk about the, and I think you mentioned this a little bit earlier, the big elephant that remains in the room nowadays, the ongoing big elephant, AI. Are you using AI at all in your work? How are you using it? Are you concerned about it? What do you feel like?
Oh, man. Yes, I'm using it. I have been using it for a couple of years now. I actually started out with visual AIs. So things that I am not capable of drawing or painting or generating, I would often use. They're really great for things like storyboarding, where you're writing a video script and you need to generate images that accompany your script, different frames of video. Because then you don't have to be as concerned if people have the wrong number of fingers or their eyeball looks weird from the side, which is a problem that AI is very quickly getting past. That was the first couple of years. That's what we were all making fun of, is oh, look at this man with 18 total fingers that my AI decided to generate for this medical stock image I needed. And we are getting away from that. I've used it for motion. So there are actually motion graphics AIs out there. And of course, these are all kind of an AI replacing a skill set that I don't otherwise have. And often for clients that, it's not like I'm replacing an illustrator or something, because the budget wouldn't have allowed me to hire an illustrator anyway. What the visual AI is replacing is kind of just my ability to generate cooler or more appropriate, images that I might not be able to on my own. The writing AIs, I think, are getting a little bit stickier and more interesting. So for a long time, they couldn't do logos because they couldn't do text. Now they can. And the writing is just wild. I mean, you can feed it a brand guide and go, hey, build my website out of this brand guide. And it can, which is amazing. And you can tell it hey, juice it with these SEO keywords so that, your content more closely aligns with the terms that people are searching for. And it can do that too. Now I can't do it on the level that, a copywriter can do it. It is still learning. So I do think to some extent it's coming for our jobs, but here's the way that I always talk to people about it. And I'm actually a brand advisor for a lot of the tech startups in the Houston area because I'm connected to, Rice University. And so I do a lot of talking with folks who are like, can't I just do my logo with AI? And I'm like, yes, you absolutely can. Now that they can do text, you can. But where I have still seen weaknesses in AI, and I think it's a great brainstorming tool. It's great for naming. It's great for headline suggestions. It's kind of an average of what's on the internet. So if what you're looking for is better or more unique or more unexpected than what is average on the internet, it's going to struggle to meet that. And that's what a really good copywriter or, brand person should be able to do anyway. You're not trying to look like everyone else. You're trying to look unique. And that is not something that AI is particularly good at right now. On the other hand, if what you're looking for is just to have like better than nothing. So like you haven't been blogging, you haven't been sending out an email letter, you haven't been posting on Facebook, your AI can in fact help you do that. And even if it's a little bit the same as what's mostly out on the internet, that's still an improvement for you. You're still getting content, you're still getting people interacting with that content. As long as you make sure that it's not, silly or making things up, you're in good shape.
Yeah. I think that's a really insightful thought there, that AI is, and I'm going to rename the AI, the average of the internet, right? AI, average of the internet.
There you go.
That's basically what it's giving you. And so, yeah, you're right. If you need something that takes that creative leap, you don't want the average of the internet. You want something that's a little bit above that. So great insight. Okay, let's switch gears a little bit. Okay, you've been doing this solo now for a bit. How do you think about this in terms of delineating personal life, family life, work life, all of these things? These blend together really easily for entrepreneurs if we're not careful. How do you manage that for yourself?
I mean, I don't know that I would say that I'm managing it well. I'm extremely a night owl and a giant procrastinator. And I knew this about myself already, but being my own boss has just really blown it up. So one of the things that I've done to kind of counteract my desire to work on things in giant 12-hour chunks at the expense of, like not making dinner, is that I bill hourly on most projects, not all of them, but most. And I will actually delineate in my billing on which day I did which hours. And it looks really bad to my clients to receive something that says Jo did nothing for the first 2 weeks that she was working on her project. And then she did all of it the day before and the morning of the fact. Or sorry,
when it was
the morning
due.
of when it was due. Exactly. And so I've had to build in just some discouragement for my own self, because otherwise, like, I am a terrible time manager. And something that a lot of creative agencies do is you have to assign all of your time to a client or a task.
Right.
And so you can see where your 8-hour day went, how much of it was admin, all of that. And so that, it turned out, was giving me a lot of good habits that once I became self-employed, I realized I no longer had. So I'm trying to be a bit better about just like tracking my time, even my admin time, even like how long did I spend accounting? How long did I spend putting together this new business pitch? How long did I spend, researching this new client before reaching out to them? And that's been really helpful for me because it forces me to look at how I'm spending my time and go, would I want to show this to a client? No. Okay. Let's figure out how to make that look better. Because apparently I myself do not have the self-control, but I definitely want my clients to feel like they're working with a responsible person. And I will say I am communicative, I am responsible, and I don't miss deadlines. So I am managing, but it was a learning curve.
I really do like that self-shaming thing here. Like, I'm just going to tell you when I've worked so that way I won't do it all right at the end. If only I had something like that when I was in school, from basically first grade through college, that would have been helpful, because man, you and I are in the exact same boat of just leaving stuff till the end. It's not so much of an issue now, but man, it's easy to get distracted. Even though the internet can be pretty average out there, man, there's a lot of things that distract you on there. So, okay, let's talk about, you've been doing this for a while. Is there anything that, now you think about, like, hey, if I could go back in time and do this differently, I'd do that a different way? And what is that?
Oh, absolutely. So one really big one for me, and I mentioned that I have kind of an agency background, ad agency, creative agency, all these folks, they tend to operate fairly similarly. At most creative agencies, there is a person, whether this is their title or not, that handles what we call traffic, which is just all of the incoming projects, how long they take to do, how they get prioritized, and who they get kind of, assigned to. In this case, most of my projects are assigned to me, though I do have some collaborators that I work with. And when I first started doing just solely freelance, it took me a good 6 or 8 months to be able to like sleep well, because I think I was kind of stressed out about it and I was kind of anxious, which is not my norm. Because I was trying to kind of do this entire full traffic role myself. And so a client asking me in the middle of the day, like, hey, when can we expect the first draft of that annual report, would like throw me for a loop, because I would go, oh my God, I have to put together a time estimate of that annual report. And then I have to put together time estimates of all of the other projects that I'm working on. Then I have to stack them together and prioritize them and figure out exactly what day. And now I'm just like, 2.5 weeks from now on Tuesday the 3rd. And like, I have not done any of the traffic stuff. There was no need for me to do that. I just have to make up a deadline that is far enough out that I know that I can complete all of the work that I have. And it mystifies me how it took me that long to figure it out. But I think, when you become a small business owner, there are just a certain number of things that you kind of have to go, you know what, that's good enough. Or like, I have to let that go. And it turns out that being not like precise within like the hour of the day that I would be able to complete every job, that was just a ridiculous level of detail and so unnecessary.
I feel like you should create like a magic 8-ball for traffic people in agencies, and they can just shake it and it just comes up with a number, and that's what they say. That'd probably save them a lot of time if you just did that, right?
Oh, yeah. They would love that. I'm sure all of the designers working under them would also love
I'm sure that would turn out totally fine. There would be no problems whatsoever, and everything is okay. Nothing would be on fire.
For sure.
Okay, last question for you, Jo. If you were talking to somebody that's thinking about doing what you did and going full-time into their own thing, what advice would you give them?
Oh, man. I mean, it's to network. I hate that that's what it is, because I just talked about how much I didn't like it. But it has found me. Every job that I've ever had, all of my work comes to me from people who, like, I was on the board of a design nonprofit, and I work with some of those people. And the last podcast I was on, the reason I know those two co-founders who are lovely and have also hired me for work is because I went to an event that a friend invited me to. And the number of people that I have connected with from going to stuff. And I mean, I know, especially since COVID, we like to joke about how like, I've taken my bra off and I'm home for the evening. Or, like I'm home. I'm not going back out again. I don't need to social. I need to pizza. These are like the kinds of memes that we see around. But honestly, like dragging yourself out of the house and, like putting on some memorable something that you can wear that will cause someone to come up and talk to you is the absolute best thing you can do. And I think just being open about what you're looking for and what you want. So, I had told people like, I want more corporate work to kind of balance my nonprofit and civic work. And folks have tried to give me that, and they've connected me with people that I know. I've had folks take me to every place that they've worked with them and give me, copywriting and or design work. I feel like such a broken record because it's the same thing everyone says. It's the, who you know, not what you know.
Yeah.
But my God, is it accurate?
Yeah, it's absolutely true, right? I mean, people don't hire people they don't know exist, right? You've got to be known by somebody for them to be like, I need to hire you for that. So, Jo, this has been fantastic. Where can our listeners find and connect with you online?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. My website is my name, which is just J-O, no E. Women named Jo are just Jo, J-O. This is my little PSA, but you can find me on my website at joskillman.com. Just my name, very uninteresting. And on LinkedIn with the same. You can search me. I'm the only one.
Awesome. Thanks so much for being on today.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good one.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Side Hustle to Small Business podcast powered by Hiscox. To learn more about how Hiscox can help protect your small business through intelligent insurance solutions, visit hiscox.com. That's HISCOX.com. And if you have a story you want to hear on this podcast, please visit hiscox.com/share your story. I'm your host, Sanjay Parikh. You can find out more about me at my website, sanjayparikh.com.